Who's going to be giving a share now? Okay, let's go.
But she actually didn't sit on it.
What is that? You didn't play?
Make sure this is okay, fine. Is it working? Not working.
It's striped, right?
Okay, hi everybody, I got Moed.
What is that?
Mr. Shem, we're going to really be speaking about a lot of wonderful things today. About Geula, Mashiach. It's a very, very special things.
What do you think?
First, let's start with the niggin. This niggin, that's a big story. Listen, we're trying to give a class. Please. It's very, they don't want to see that you're eating cookies. So she wants to show the delicious cookies we're having over here. Don't worry, I remember bracha. Can't hear? She can't hear.
I thought that was coffee can.
She can't hear. Why can't she hear?
She's on mute.
Yeah, how about now?
No, it's not as good. Can you hear? She still can't hear. She's turned off. Who can't hear, man? It's turned off. That's turned off. Now you can hear?
Could you guys hear now?
Can you hear? I'm find out what's happening. That one's fine, but this one, can you hear? Yeah, they can hear, okay. They can hear now, they can hear. Okay, so let's start up like a niggin. Now this niggin is very special. This niggin is what we sing before the Rebbe all the time. And it gives power to the Rebbe to do more and more good work. Actually, I was in the Sukkah a couple of days ago in Yantav, and the Rebbe, the person was telling us how the Rebbe was giving out, I think he gave out dollars and l'chaim, give out to different people, and one of the people were in the stadium, in Dolphin Stadium, they had like 70,000 people there, and they were giving out, and they were all, I forget exactly how it worked, but the idea of this niggin is that we're all like can you imagine you're in a stadium, a holy stadium, tens of thousands of people, and that we're all singing to the Rebbe and giving power to the Rebbe. As I said, I told many times I had a yechidus. The Rebbe told me that, and when I had bad thoughts, he said one of the things he said you think about generally when you have bad thoughts, when you have anxiety, it's all just stuff that you can't fight it. You have to just put your mind someplace else. You guys are in a share. We're in a share. If you want to speak, because I'm the hype, but please speak outside, okay? So there's a lot of people listening, hopefully. So anyways, hello. If you want to speak outside. It's okay. We have no problem with you speaking, but not during the share, because we have people throughout the world listening. Huh? I'm not worried. I'm not worried at all. I'm just telling
they
you.
can't hear really from down the table.
Yeah,
Especially with that mic.
Huh? It disturbs me also.
Oh,
it takes away from my concentration and giving over to people.
No problem.
Okay? So the Rebbe told me in this Yechidus that we had these terrible thoughts. He said, think about a sentence in the written Torah, or more thing, or deeper, along the oral Torah, or politics at Vietnam, or a football game. So I couldn't figure out why he's talking to figure of it like football game. In general, when a person has difficult times, and he can't really fight this, he just has to put his mind into a better place. So therefore, you can think something holy. Well, I understood. But if I was like into sports, like last night I was by Shabbos, somebody's very much into sports. You could say having bad thoughts, think about sports, because it'll take your mind out of it. But by me, I was never into sports. So it wasn't until many, many years later that I realized I was once in a stadium, and I was amazed. It was Dodger Stadium, that tens of thousands of people. There was one game, I don't even know how I got there, and I was amazed and everybody chanting and saying stuff, the power there. So I realized later on that the whole mindset to be short, that this is how it is, that the Rebbe is like taking foot as a football, and he's running for the complete redemption, and all the
With a
world is
football.
trying to stop him. And we're saying Yehi Adoneinu Mareinu V'Beinu Melech HaMashiach V'Bed, and we're giving the Rebbe power and strength to do this. So this is something that you, when you think you're helping bring the redemption, you're helping Rebbe, giving him the power that we're all partners with him. So anyway, so let's sing Yehi. Let's think about it. How that there are thousands and now thousands of people singing Yehi throughout the world. That we should give. We are part of the power of the Rebbe going for the touchdown, for the final redemption. Yehi Adoneinu Mareinu V'Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach Li'elam Bored. Yehi Adoneinu Mareinu V'Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach Li'elam Bored. Yehi 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 Yehi. Ya 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 ya. Ay ya 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 ya. Ya 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 ya. Ya 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 ya. Ay ya ya. Yehi Adoneinu Mareinu V'Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach Li'elam Bored. Yehi Adoneinu Mareinu V'Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach Li'elam Bored. Yehi 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 Yehi. So we're in a very, very special time. We'll follow this more into the Sikha. We're a very, very special time. We're in the times that we're at times at any minute. We're at times of Mashiach. Everything said that the concept of bringing the redemption has to do with that we have to refine the world in a complete way. And then once we finish our job, then Hashem pays us off and gives us the final redemption. How we see, and we'll talk about later, how it's going to see how everything's God, that we're just part of God. So it says, the Rebbe said we reach this special level. So the question is, I've been, being a Baal Tshuva, and I've noticed that by Baal Tshuvas, the Baal Tshuvas have, amazing experiences. It's not that we, generally, like a person's like a scientist. So he studies and he puts his energy into this, and he tries and figure out what's happening, and all of a sudden he understands how something works, and he comes with an innovative idea. The same thing would seem to be so in Judaism. We had before that people would study deeply things and would come with new concepts. But we have. If you listen, you might learn something also.
Just repeating what you said. Just explaining what you said.
No, he's not.
Yeah, you say exactly what you said.
No, he's not. So I've noticed that by Baal Tshuvas that we have very amazing experiences, and it's not that we've worked on it; it just happens automatically. I'll explain some of them. I'll give some examples. Like my wife. She should be lived for many, many years. My wonderful wife Rivki, I was Rivki Rao. That we were in Israel recently. We were in Israel recently and got married there. And I'll tell one miracle that happened with her, that she broke her toe. We were buying something right before the Sabbath, and just buying some little tea lights. She went by herself, and there was some oil on the floor. She fell down and broke her toe. So the second toe was all black and blue, turned black and blue, and she couldn't walk. So I took some Rebbe water, which you've talked about before, and I put it in a bucket, and I put her foot in it, and then I wrote in, like we talked before, there's an app called, I don't know if I have copies of it here, there's an app called Rebbe 770. It's an app on the phone, REBBE space 770. And it has, one of the things in the app is there's a blessing request, and they end up putting it where the Rebbe Melch Mashiach, the King Messiah, prays every day. So I brought in a blessing for her, and she could walk. Later on, a couple of days later, we went to the doctor. He went to take an X-ray, all black and blue. But so we were sitting there Shabbos, and we were discussing different miracle stories. So I find that by people who are religious from birth, when you tell them these like miracle stories that happen to you, these insights, they're afraid of it. They can't relate to it. So I realized that, you know, as I was sitting there, I was going to tell the people there, my first Yechidus, which I mentioned to many times and many times before, about how when I walked in the first time I saw the Rebbe, and I really didn't know much. I was just a new guy in the block, so to speak. I mean, learned a year, didn't learn much. It wasn't like I had concepts of what the King Mashiach should look like, what the Rebbe, holy man, should look like. It was something that happened automatic to me. And I saw the Rebbe, and he was like standing, he filled up the whole room, way low, and then he was everything. He was included. Everything was like I first thought about. He was like, he talks about the ladder by Jacob's ladder, how it connected the heavens and the earth. That's the first thing. Years later, I thought talks about by Moshe Rabbeinu. Moses was called a godly man, Ish Elokim, which means he was part in the heavens and part in the earth. That was the Rebbe. And then there's another thought I thought. That because I realized that the Rebbe was in the room with every place, and it says like one of the big miracles that happened in the Holy Temple, which we're going to be there very soon to see, and that it had called the Aron HaKodesh, the Holy Ark, where the holy tablets were, and it says if you measure from one side of the room Kodesh Kadoshim to the Ark would be 10 measurements, and from the other side would be 10 measurements. And if you measure across, it'd be 20 measurements, and the ark was 2.5. So it should be 22.5, but it says it was there but didn't exist. So, can you guys hear me over there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, you hear me? Because it seems turned out okay. So, these are different things I saw. So I was telling I was going to tell the story. My wife said it was too crazy. Then my wife told me, my wife had said her father was, Alabah Shani, passed away a few years ago, was one of the most respected rabbis in the community ever. And he was like, besides being a rabbi, he was a really, really good person. He was a rab, but besides being a rab, he was a very honest, down-to-earth person who, you know, that him, to be straightforward and honest, that was his life. Sometimes we have people who are not, unfortunately, they're not like that. It's rare to feed somebody that's so much like that. He was mom, and he had to deal a lot of problems because of that. But he was very, very special. So there are many people, since Gimel Thomas, people have seen the Rebbe. They would make statements how they saw the Rebbe. So Chaim, you know what he would say about this when they would say that if somebody tell me they saw the Rebbe? He would think they were crazy.
Of course.
So Rivki, his daughter, his daughter once, this is about 20 years ago, she was in the women's section with Shop Above in 770, and she was eating a bagel. And it was the 22nd of Shvat, and she looks down, and she sees the Rebbe standing there, and she sees his tzitzis moving. So she went and started to pinch herself, you know, to see if she was asleep or not. So then after that, her father never said that this was crazy. So she's kind of telling me that I had a crazy Torah. So I looked at my wife and said, "You calling me crazy? You're the one who saw the Rebbe." Anyway, so the person we're with, was also an amazing guy. I mean, just he's about mid-50s. He said that when he went to see when he went to see the Rebbe, it was like, I guess, in Nun Gimel, that the Rebbe he drove 21. It wasn't religious, but he knew the Rebbe was something special. So he drove 21 hours from Miami to see the Rebbe. Rebbe was sick. He didn't see him. So he came a few years later, and he went into the Rebbe's room, and he was praying in the Rebbe's room, and he felt this energy coming into him, and he says it's changed him till today. And he went and he took pictures of the room. At that time they had those years with an instant cameras. You would take like 20, 24 pictures and go ahead. So an instant camera. He asked the rabbi, can he take pictures? Such an amazing place. He says the only pictures that didn't come out were those 4 pictures. So I'm trying to figure out, So I was trying to figure out, and I have other friends of mine who also had like amazing experience. One friend of mine, he's 16 years old. When he was 16 years old, he didn't know anything about the Rebbe or anything. In the 80s, the Rebbe used to give out dollars. There were like he used to give out more than to 3,000 people dollars, and there were a lot of miracles happening. So his aunts that were in Long Island, his aunts wanted to get $1 from the Rebbe, and he didn't know anything about it. So he said, you know, when they finished, everything was done, and the Rebbe was outside in front of his shul, 770, Zenju by himself, And so his aunts went him and went to him and said that, go ask $1 from the rabbi. He didn't know this was the Rebbe. Walks up, a young guy, and he says, Rabbi, can I have $1? So the rabbi put $1, had $1 waiting for his hand, and put it and gave him the $1. And he said he looked up at the Rebbe, and it was like this. He also saw something beyond special. I'll say more stories like this. So I realized that how does this work, and why is this? Because the Rebbe explains that the idea from tshuva nowadays comes from a very special level. Now, with the concept of Mashiach, the concept of revelation of godliness is a concept that happens automatically. That Hashem automatically reveals, and you see how everything's God. And this is what you see by many people that have these experiences, especially about Shuvas. They have these experiences. It's not because it's automatic. All of a sudden, Hashem picks us up, lightens us up, and shows us something amazing. And I have many, many experiences like this. So this is something. So I realized the reason for this is because we're in Mashiach's time. This is a side of miracles of Mashiach, that you see great revelations. That just happens to you because in essence you're really there, or you don't know about it. We're really ready. The Rebbe says the world is ready we're already ready. Everything's done, ready to receive everything. So this is the idea that by all these experiences people have, if they share them, then we start to see how we're in a special time. Generally, Chaim. Give me a cup of wine, please. Didn't have a cup of wine yet. The Chaim Simchas Yantav. Good. I'm used to Rebbe one Chaim. I don't know what happened. With the Chaim, everybody. The Chaim, Mamish, we should Mamish be.
Can we get you the Rebbe one?
Yeah, you have? Yeah, give him some Rebbe.
Mix it in.
I was used to Rebbe wine. Anyways. So this our concept is that we're Mamish in the special time. And when you see them, I talk a lot of the different Baal Teshuvas, a lot of miracles they have, and you see how special it is. And all of this is a revelation of godliness. Then the more we talk about these things, the more we bring it brings it out into the world. Have a clean cup.
You don't want to mix it in.
Huh?
You're gonna put a few drops and add to it.
Pardon me?
He's just gonna drink that one.
No, add to it.
Particularly when you make a mitzvah with the intention of by doing that bringing Mashiach.
He doesn't do it.
Oh, I got you.
Oh, by the way, this is why you make Rebbe wine, Rebbe water. This is the holy wine. You add a little bit at a time in it, and the wine that's added into it becomes holy. And it works. It's amazing. I make water like this from the Rebbe water. Give it to people. I said, my wife cured her told. I have people who I gave her leukemia. It's like this. It's because somehow the Rebbe made it in a way that his power is so strong that when you add into it, and with the Chassidim we received that we try and put less than half, that the whole thing becomes holy. It's the most amazing thing. I mean, wine is amazing, but just water, I do it with the sink, and I see miracles all the time. This is all times of Mashiach. Chaim, everybody. Chaim, we should be Zocha to see Gula Shlema and to look at each other and love each other more and more and just see how beautiful we are and wonderful we are and concentrate on the wonderfulness of each and every one of us. And by concentrating on that, we bring it out. L'chaim.
There's a whole cup now.
They're asking all kinds of questions on this. I don't know if they want. Fine. They're asking all kinds of questions on it. Okay. So right now we're going to study a talk from the Rebbe from Simchas Torah. The Simchas Torah is coming up. We're right now in the holiday of Sukkot. And at the holiday of Sukkot, at the end, the holiday of dancing with the Torah. It's a culmination of all the holidays. This month is called the month of Tishrei, and it's a month of holiness. So you have Rosh Hashanah, and then we have Yom Kippur, and then we have Sukkot, and then we have Simchas Torah. And all of this has to do with bringing down godliness, bringing down Hashem, revealing redemption into this world. Rosh Hashanah is one level, and then we reach another level by Yom Kippur. It's another level, bring down godliness. We do a high level of tshuva. And in Simchas it says, Yom Kippur, there was a very special time. Yom Kippur was one of the most special times, is when the holy priest would go in to the Holy of Holies, and they would have an incense that would cover the Holy of Holies. And this incense represents one of the highest levels. The incense is something that covers us over, represents the essence of God. The incense is also was made up from 11 that has to do with the total unity. So the incense, it says, the skak, the heavy skak over here that we're sitting under in the sukkah, that comes from the incense. And that it's still it's surrounding us. Until we're going to head at the end of this week, we're going to have Simchas Torah, where it brings down even all into the feet. That's what we're going to talk about. We're talking about this last Sikha the Rebbe gave on when it was during Hakafas by Simchas Torah. Means that we take the Torah and we go out and we dance with the Torah. And all the Jews dance. So this is made from the talks the night of Simchas Torah, before Hakafas 5752. You can find this if you want. It's on the app. It's on, if you look in, or you can look at livingmashiach.com. If you look in the library, look in Devarim, it's the last Sikha. It says, number one, Simchas Torah has a special connection to the true and complete redemption through Mashiach. As we say in the hymn, Sisa v'simcha b'simchas Torah, that on Simchas Torah, after the reading of Torah, I will rejoice and be happy on Simchas Torah. Tzemach, it says, his Mashiach will surely come on Simchas Torah. So in other words, we're coming to the Rebbe said, point how everything has to do with Gula Shlem, with redemption. And this, especially Simchas Torah, is like this. And this is also alluded to in the verses that we say before Hakam. Before in Simchas Torah, we dance around with the Torah. Everybody dances around. Before that, we say 17 verses, and the first verse says, beginning that you have that you have started to show that Hashem is that Hashem Hu Elokim, that Hashem He's God. And then the final one, it says Kimi Tzion Teitzei Sorah B'Var Hashem Yerushalayim. So in other words, that from the beginning to the end, the Rebbe says that the last verse, which is a verse, there were 17 verses, that 17 is the same numerical value as the word good, tov in Hebrew. And it says tov, it says Ein Tov El B'Torah. There's only good, that's only Torah. For that from Sion will emerge the word of Hashem from Yerushalayim, which, what's this mean? This is the prophecy of the days of Mashiach. So as we say this, and the Rebbe is going to be Machadish, the reason we may say, he's learning something very special. This is also the content of all the 17 verses, which all depend on the final one. What's the final? Ki from Zion also can mean with or when. And according to this, we may translate Ki from Zion, that this is the end of all verses, to mean that all the matters that are in all the other 16 verses, if you look in the Siddur, before it will be fulfilled in the perfection, the complete sense of Ki, from when Zion, the Torah will emerge, and the word Hashem from Yerushalayim. In other words, all the other verses that we say, I didn't bring the Siddur, but when you look at the Hakafas, you can read them, they all end up with the idea of Mashiach, which will be in the true and complete redemption. Starting from the first verse, you have shown yourself to make known that Hashem is God, and there's nothing else except Him. For the ultimate, how are we going to know this? How are we going to know that Hashem has got nothing else but Him? You have shown yourself to make known, which was at the time of the giving of Torah, will be the true and complete redemption. That the Alter Rebbe explained in Tanya, that in the time to come there will be the revelation of godliness as such, that it will be without